All right, next up we have Mr. Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes has been working in the field of deconstruction and material reuse since 2007. He was part of the group of people who started Buffalo Reuse and is currently the store manager at Reuse Action. He relates to buildings mostly in taking them apart and selling the resulting materials.
Good evening. So here's my cheesy selfie. I'm in doing a deconstruction here. Like she said, my focus on buildings is actually demolition, and green demolition or deconstruction, which I'll explain a little bit. I also am a preservationist who works for a demolition company, and I consider that to be nuanced rather than conflicted, but we'll talk about that later. Everybody in Buffalo knows that there's a problem with vacancy, abandonment, and houses like this. This is a house that Kaleida owned that we took down for them on Michigan. And at any one time in the last 20 years, out of 100,000 houses, there's 15 or 20,000 empty houses in this city. This is traditional demolition. All of that material you see there is going to be thrown away, if by thrown away you mean taken to the landfill and put in the landfill. The city government finds this to be convenient because really you just call up a demolition contractor and they'll take your building down. And also the building is completely gone. Michael Gaynor on the left is the driving force behind green demolition in Buffalo and behind building reuse. We started Buffalo Reuse in 2007, and David Bennick on the right there taught us everything we know about hybrid demolition. Hybrid demolition is a combination of machines and human labor to take houses apart safely. Another look at traditional demolition, you'll see here almost the only two things that can be reused in traditional demolition: steel and the brick and block, which is turned into fill, basically. But everything else goes into the landfill unless you have some plan to do something different with it. The next slide, this is how we do hybrid demolition. That's an all-terrain forklift with an extendable boom, and you're able to pluck out parts of the building. That's an actual floor panel with joists and flooring on it. It might actually be a roof panel, but it's pulled out with slings and chains, and then in the next picture you'll see we put it on the ground. It's coming along there. This is Extreme Makeover. If anybody remembers that, back in 2009, we took down a 2-flat on Massachusetts in 15 hours. All right, now we don't usually work that fast, but this gives you an idea of how you take the panel out of the building and put it on the ground where it's safer to work on it, okay? There are other approaches to demolition where I call it stick by stick, where you take everything apart individually. This is a floor panel turned upside down on the ground, all right? A couple people using pry bars can take all these joists off in about 4 or 5 minutes, and then you have flooring and sheathing underneath that. That can be knocked apart very quickly too. But the main thing is it happens on the ground in a safe location. Now we have the joist on the left. That's the raw material. Most of it around here is hemlock. Buffalo's built out of hemlock largely. And what you get out of buildings is joists and some studs and bigger beams. And then on the right is actual tables made out of that. Those are at the Thin Man on Chandler Street. And we also take wood out of barns. There's barns all over the place falling down, and they're getting in people's way. Largely what we deal with in our store over on Northampton Street, it's things that are in people's way, okay? The town wants it gone, the insurance company wants it gone, the real estate broker wants it gone. We take this material and we actually turn it into new materials, or we sell it as raw material. There's a beam on the left, and then with just a little sanding and a little varnishing on the right, you have an absolutely you can't fake this material, okay? It's 120 to 180 years old. We get a lot of oak, beech, and chestnut. Most of it's pine. We're a very wasteful society. We're wealthy and wasteful. This is basketball court. This is maple from a basketball court. When a flooring contractor puts in a new floor in a basketball court, it costs them $15,000 to throw it away, to put it in the landfill, and it's gone, and nobody can use it again. This is actually at Young and Wright Architectural Firm down on Elk Street. You may have seen it, and those are the basketball floor panels that they used somewhat as an accent, okay? But we just put them in as panels, including all the markings and the varnish and everything. But again, this is a material that would normally be thrown away. We put it to use. Another material is insulation, rigid foam insulation. Now, some of what we do comes from demolition. This is more the surplus and the extraneous in the way type of stuff. It comes out of roofs usually. This happens to be extruded polystyrene, which is this is a surplus material that they can't sell on the usual market. Most of our insulation, and we sell a lot of this, is polyisocyanurate, which comes again out of flat roofs. We sell it all day long to people for about half the cost of new, mostly for utility buildings, okay? And again, this stuff is thrown in the landfill many, many times, okay? So we've made a business out of it. Now, it's not just about wood. Some of you who own old houses may be familiar with some of these things. We get all kinds of salvage materials, and these are house parts. These are doorknob parts. And this is a public service we provide, where if you need the unusual screw or the washer, you can get it from us. Right? We often just give this away, again, as a public service. I mentioned I'm a preservationist. PreservationReady.org, you might want to check it out. I started this in 2013, and basically I believe that I am active in preservation because I value buildings, and that facts are really important when you're doing activism. This is a list of more than 2,100 buildings that are of preservation concern. Here's the latest thing, which the Ellicott Company has done down on Chicago Street. So we have an individual home on the web for all of these buildings. And like I say, I'm not conflicted about preservation. I have a respect for the value of houses and buildings. And one of the ways that we do it is with green demolition. Thank you.